almost was what I wish the true story of Wrestlemania, the documentary that came out probably 2010, 2011. That was a really good documentary, but I think they almost tried to touch on every WrestleMania instead of just telling what the story of WrestleMania was. But, it's the build-up. They didn't just, Vince said, hey, we're going to have a big show, and then Howard Finkel decided that we should call it WrestleMania. Vince liked the name, and that's how he was going to do it. They rented out Madison Square Garden. They called up Billy Martin. They called up the Rockettes. They called up Liberace, Muhammad Ali, and said, hey, come on into the show. I don't think that's what it did. I think that it was the momentum of, they talked about Hulk Hogan wrestled in the WWF. Then, he came in and Vince McMahon changed his name to Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was going out doing these television matches. He got noticed by Sylvester Stallone, who put him into Rocky 3, his Thunder Lips. That ended up getting him fired, and then he went to go work for the AWA. When Vince came in, he decided that, I got to have this guy. Brought him in and decided that he was going to be the main draw of the company. Vince, wanted to get the belt on him, honestly, as soon as he could. So he built a friendship between him and Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund got beat by the Iron Sheik. And then Hogan went out and he beat Iron Sheik for the championship. I believe it was December of 1984, I think, is when that happened. There was a big, long discussion about, if they should have been doing the Iron Sheik Iranian gimmick, how much he was hated. I think that, the way that they talked about it was perfect. I think that those stereotypes are able to be used in movies today. I don't understand why they can't be used in wrestling. Each and every day. You would feel bad for the performer that is going out there, but every time you see like a big Russian guy come in as a wrestler, they're always portrayed as being bigger, larger than life. You would think because they're Russian, they're on steroids because of all the Olympic troubles that they've always got in, and they're bigger and better, and how are we going to be able to beat them? They talked about, when they were in war times, with Japan and with Germany, and they showed the gimmicks that they used at those days, whether that was like Mr. Fuji, whether it was Nikolai Volkov, with the Russians. I think it just is what it is. You're not going to be complaining about stereotypes the next time you see a Indiana Jones movie and they have the Russians up there on the screen, or James Bond fighting against somebody or something like that. So I don't know. It's wrestling. Just give them a break. It's freaking entertainment. It's just because it's not real sports. It's not real wrestling. It is what it is. But with Hogan, gaining steam, they were able to partner up with Cyndi Lauper. And Cyndi Lauper was able to, get them engaged with MTV. MTV brought them 2 specials at the time, which is Rock and Wrestling, and, The War to Settle the Score, which was Roddy Piper against Hulk Hogan in the main event. I think that match ended up going to a draw, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen those in a long, long time since I was tape trading on VHS. I saw somebody did a Blu-ray transfer, and I think I need to get that on my next order to check out what that was. But I honestly think that I would watch the main event, and I think a lot of the older wrestling that's not the Hogan match might bore me. I'm not 100% sure, but to see it one time would be pretty cool. And I don't think that is on the WWE Network featured on Peacock, but I'm not 100% sure. After doing that, they were able to go out. They had to portray a lot of loans. I think the storyline is going to come up with a lot of the loans they take out to finance WrestleMania. I don't think they end up paying back until Linda runs for Senate, which is going to be down the road. You think that they've got this far, you're going to see them get into a little bit of a trouble. They touch on lawsuits that pop up along the way. One was at 2020. Like an Inside Edition kind of show where basically they were doing a backstage story on wrestling and they were trying to portray it as being fake. That's when Dr. D, was it David Schwartz, something close to that. He ends up smacking the announcer, saying basically, like, do you think that is fake? And you can see Mr. Fuji in the background just, like, glistening, like, oh. I think that, honestly, Fuji would have done it if Dr. D wouldn't have done it. And another time was on one of the late-night shows. Hulk Hogan was on there. The guy was, like, named Richard. Was it Richard Belzner? Something close to that. And he was being just a jerk. You can tell that Hogan was getting worked up. And even Mr. T was kind of feeling like the guy was trying to go out of his way to embarrass him, making fun of him. And Hogan ends up putting him like in like a chin lock and just chokes him out. And you just see in his arms that he's out. And then Hogan lets go of the hold. He ends up just collapsing. When he collapses, he hits his head on the back. And you might think that it's just like a frivolous lawsuit or something like that because he choked him out. But you see the pool of blood before the guy even gets up. And then once he actually gets up and doesn't know what's going on, he's like doing a circle, turning around. And you just see the back of his sports jacket just completely drenched in blood. From there, they basically didn't tell you what happened at WrestleMania. They just showed you the limelights of how big it was and then portrayed like it might not have been known, but that was the night that Vince McMahon won the war. There was other companies out there. There was Crockett. There was AWA. There was Mid-South. There was, World Class down in Dallas, but it was done. I mean, basically, like, they were going to keep moving. They had all of the momentum, and I think any market they wanted to move into, any place that they wanted to run a show, it is what it is.